Welcome to MaxsGarajMahal. We're going to do a little bit of a bearing replacement on the front end of the old Hustler Super Z. And the reason for that is here's one of the bearings we've already knocked out. And it's a 205 bearing with a extension collar on it. So I'll get you the numbers, put it down in the description below. And it's really rough. And the reason why we're changing out the bearings, the reason why they use bearings in these caster spindles where the front wheels turn, is rather than bushings, is because a bearing has less friction and requires less horsepower to turn the machine, and it puts less wear on the shaft that goes up through the bearing because the bearing is taking the wear rather than the shaft. So with all that said, how you like the new merch we have here, guys? New hoodie, MaxsGarajMahal logo, MGM. Maybe you can see it on the back better. I don't know. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and set up in there, show you what we've already done, and then we're going to set up the camera, and then take apart the left-hand side. We've already removed the right, and show you what's entailed in removing it. The bearings haven't arrived yet, so we're getting a little bit ahead of the game. However, we want to go ahead and get this video out there because there's people asking about how to change bearings, what bearings to use, several different questions about maintenance on their mowers. It is pretty much winter time, and the grass is pretty much over with in a large part of the country because it's not going to reach 80 degrees for Bermuda and probably 65, 70 degrees for a lot of other grasses and weeds. So a lot of this stuff is going to stop growing. So let's go ahead and get into a maintenance series here. And we're going to use the old Hustler Super Z that we received from Mr. Steve D over in Nashville, Tennessee. Really nice guy, wounded veteran, just a fantastic fellow, wife, 4 children. And he wanted to be a part of the video series, and we really appreciate him donating his old Hustler Super Z, which was on that piece of property, a 7-acre property, for its entire life since 2005. And before he bought the property and inherited the machine, poor old machine was just, it was beat to death, and it was abused and mistreated and just apparently never really taken care of. So in order to do the world land speed record attempt with this Hustler Super Z, we've got to get it up to specs so that you've got freely turning wheels, you've got good hydraulics working like you're supposed to, and we want to do it with a pretty much stock Hustler Super Z. So Mr. Steve D, we appreciate it. We thank you again, and hopefully we'll get this thing where you guys see how to do a lot of these things that we're doing. And again, we'll show you this bearing. I'll try to get up close where you can see it. Let me turn on a light or two here for you. Maybe that'll help. Also, maybe I ought to turn the battery on first. Maybe then. Whoa, boy! Nothing else that'll blind the guy on the operator here. So, all right, that'll give you an idea of just how bad, rusty, and that's been cleaned up quite a bit. So, hopefully, this will give you some idea. I'm trying to get some more light on it. You know what? Let me get you some more light. I know right where there's some at. Let's see if that helps. Now, this place right over here is where I had to use the chisel to knock it out. So, all right, let's get out on my Sunday go to meeting cap here and get all suited up for the work in the old Garage Mahal here. Get this pretty nice new hoodie off. And let's get on with the program. Get one of these old ugly plaid shirts on here. Let's get something done. So let me go to inside the shop there and we'll get with it. Alrighty, here we are, guys, at MaxsGarajMahal. We've done a little surgery on the old Hustler Super Z because all the bearings on this thing are just shot. Listen to these when I turn them. You hear that? All right, that's the wheel bearings. Now let's see if you can hear this. Now I'm gonna get real close. You can hear the noise in those bearings. Give you an idea of how bad it is. All right, there you go. A little zeroing in. Got her semi cleaned up here. And let's see if we can see down through there. No, I'm too close to it. All right, but I sort of put some PB blaster on this thing and sort of clean her a little bit. Yeah, that ought to give you some idea of what it looks like down through there. My hands looked a lot worse than that when I got it off. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this one off over here for you, show you how we got those bearings out. And it involved a nice little hammer. That is a 3-pounder. This is a spacer. That's one bearing. That was from the top, I believe. This is from the bottom right down here. So we'll set up, show you how we have to go about that. Alrighty, here we are back again in the garage part. And as you can see down here, here's the caster and the spindle area right here for the caster. We don't want to take this off yet. We want to first get the tire out of the way. So how do you do that? Well, I don't have impact wrench really set up for this. However, we might be able to use this little booger. I didn't want to go get the big electric one out. And I don't have a cordless, so we're going to try this first and just see how this works out. And I should have, oh yeah, and you're going to love this too. So that's not what I recommend for this job, just what I have at hand. So here we go. All right, well, we both can see this is a little short in the britches for that. So let's go with this long old breakover bar. And we'll first knock it loose, maybe, hopefully. You know, you are dealing with an old man here. And old men, you know, we're not as strong of bulls as we once were, but let's give it a shot anyway. Look at there. All right. Now, we don't know if this little 1/4-inch Milwaukee impact here will take this off now or not. Let's find out. Look at that. It thought it was a big dog there for a minute, didn't it? Okay, we're going to take off this washer. Put it right there. It's up there for the time being. We're going to push this bolt through. And this is not, I don't believe these are greasable bearings, but someone has been stuffing bearing grease inside that one. And looking down through here, it looks like they've been doing the same thing with this one. So let's just take a look and see if that's the situation. Well, no, you know what? This one is a greasable bearing because it has a grease zerk on it. So it is greasable, or at least it has a grease zerk. Anyway, it may not be greasable, but it does have a grease zerk. So temporarily, I'm going to put this bolt back in here, along with a nut, and then good enough right there. Then we're going to reach over here. We're going to put, can you see that? We're going to put that 3/4-inch on there. And we're going to see if, get that wheel tire out of the way. Hopefully, if the guy comes through, we're going to put some, we're going to make and build some aluminum front wheels for this thing to take some weight off the unsprung weight. This has got a flex fork on it, which is a elastomer piece of rubber that allows this to move up and down and absorb a lot of the bumps and dips. And that is a wonderful thing. If you don't have those on your Hustler and Big Dog, you certainly do want to get those because it certainly does take a lot of harshness out of the ride. So what I was going to say about that is the mower is the sprung weight, just like on your car. Anything above the springs is sprung weight. Anything below it, like your axle, if you have a live axle, it's unsprung weight. So unsprung weight makes it fall into the hole. Of course, the weight on the springs pushes it down even faster. But check this out. That come out of there just like it thought it ought to, maybe. All right. Now, it appears to me as well that this one is just as rusted in as the first one. So this may be just about as hard to get out as the first one was. And what we're going to do is we're going to take some of this PB Blaster over here sitting on the floor. And I'm going to give you an idea, if you'll pardon me getting in front of the camera again. Give you an idea of just how bad the other side was. Can you see that rag there? That was just from wiping. Wiping this right here. This is just a bearing separator, shim. And that was from just cleaning up this one bearing just so I could read the number on it. And believe me, it was really bad. So, and this one looks to be just as bad. And I don't know that this to be true. When I went over to Nashville to pick this up for Mr. D, it was sitting inside a shop. It really wasn't a shop. It's sort of like a little open lean-to. So it basically, really, I want to say, sat outside probably its entire life. And it has that appearance, by the way, because it's got a lot of rust pits all over it. And so we want to do a restoration on this thing as well as make it fast. So, okay, now we both know that that has not had time to really soak it in there enough yet to really do any good. However, what we do want to do, just for the halibut, is to make sure that if it will come out on its own, probably not. So the first thing we got to do, woo, look at that. We're talking in there, aren't we? All right, so let's do this. That bolt is just pretty rusty, or not really rusty, it's just corroded up. Let's give it a little penetrate there. Okay. You can see how dirty that bearing was because I got this stuff all over the hammer too. Hello. If 2 pounds is not heavy enough, let's go for a 4 pound. 4 pound heavy enough, we'll go for 8 pound. But first, we're going to do this. Now guys, don't do this at home. Don't do what I'm doing. This could be dangerous. It could actually, one hammer could break the other and splinter off and penetrate your heart. You never know. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get up here and I'm going to give us a little love tap. Like that right there. And let's see if it made any movement. Yes, sir. We did have some movement. That's a good thing. All right, we can see movement here. Let me be real quiet, see if you can hear these bearings. It's vibrating the whole tractor. So that gives you an idea how bad these were. And that was before I started beating on these bearings. It was, I think it may be a little quieter now. I cut another piece of video and I decided to shoot around that, and I may use a part of it, I'm not really sure. But I tried to do that the other day so you could hear it, and I could only bump it the way I set up, holding the camera by hand, and it wasn't turning very fast. But if you could hear this, I believe it was louder the other day, and I'm not sure. I think it even had a fan going, and I'm not sure, but I think you could probably hear it over that fan, or heater rather. It's getting pretty cool here in Arkansas. It was 30 this morning, and 30. No, I'm sorry. I think I take it back. I think it was 43 this morning, and it's a little cooler than that now. So temperature's still dropping, and I'm hoping to get to watch the Texas Motorsports NASCAR race, which has been 3 days trying to get it in. So hopefully hopefully I'll be able to get that race in. And those of us that follow NASCAR might get to see it. Hopefully that's today. So I'm going to get on this thing a little bit, and then see if I can get some of this penetrate down through there. I don't take that all the way out, of course. It ain't wanting to go, is it? Ooh, look at there, look at there. Well, the threads still look good on it, and they're not turning back. This is just a grade 5 bolt. Now it's a grade 6. And that's a good thing. So let's let that soak a little bit more. And let me wipe my hands off here a little bit, and we'll stop the camera for just a moment. We're going to, oh, I see what's happening. It's bringing the bottom bearing out with it. That's a good thing. That's also a bad thing. It's a bad thing when you're out of acetylene and oxygen, because that means I will most likely have to cut that bearing off of that spindle. And if that is so, then that means I've got to make a run to the air gas company, give them a plug here, to pick up some acetylene oxygen. Tell you what though, let me see if I can find a socket that'll fit in there that I don't really love much anymore, and we'll see if we can drive it on through real quick, and we'll just see. So bear with me. Well, this is not exactly what I was looking for, but I believe it'll fit through there like that, and seems to be a 12-point half-inch socket. And it looked like it's been ground down at one time to go down deeper into a hole, and actually that's a 12. Maybe I oughtn't to beat on that too bad, because I don't think I got any more of them. Oh well. I think that's fairly well what we was looking for. Now then, let me show you that real quick. These things are heavy, but take a look at this ruster in this thing. That just tells you how this machine has been mistreated in its lifetime. And I'll set this thing up here and put a little penetrate on that thing. And I know it's just a waste of time, guys, but you know what? That's what I bought this stuff for. And if I can drive that off of there without having to cut it off, that would be primo. Let's go ahead and saturate this thing all over a little bit. All right. Now, I'm going to let that set. And since the bearings haven't arrived for it, we still have time to do a little bit of work on this thing. So when I get ready to start trying to pop that off there, I'll turn the cameras back on and you can join me in that. But we'll be back shortly after that's had time to go ahead and do a little more penetration there, and we'll just see how good this PB blaster is. Everyone really talks about how great it is, and You know, I've got several different brands of this stuff, of penetrate, and I don't know if they say this is the best. I really can't say that it is yet. I'm still in the testing stages of it. But when I figure out it against WD-40 and gosh, I can't even see all the brands over there on the wall. But one of these days I'll probably do a review on various penetrates. So I know there's a million of them out there, but I haven't done mine. And you know, I'd hate for you guys not to be able to hear me drone on and on and on. So, all right, we'll be back. Well, everybody, looks like we're going to have to go and get the acetylene and oxygen bottles refilled. So here it is, a nice sunny Friday, about 43 degrees, and the lovely bride has gone off somewhere to pick up stuff here and there. And I'm going to go out to the air gas company, set out to air gas, and see if we can't get these things filled. So bear with me. We'll get back in the shop here in a little bit and get that bearing cut off, because all the coaxing I've done with a 4-pound and a 6-pound and chisels hasn't worked out. So we're going to give it a little bit of a I know everyone's going to say, well, where's your seat belt? Alright, yeah, I usually get it put on before now, so I'm going to go ahead and do that just for you guys that are trying to show these videos, and you women that showing these videos to your children. Wear your seat belts, guys. So we'll be back shortly, and we'll get the torch out and cut that bearing off. Be right back. Alrighty, well, we've picked up our gas, our oxygen. We're headed back to the MaxsGarajMahal, and we'll get there shortly. Those bottles hooked up, torch on it. We're going to put on the fire, you guys. We're going to set something on fire. Let's hope that the only thing we set on fire is the grease in that bearing. Okay, so we'll be back in a bit. Stay. And when my cupboard's bare, I still find something there with my love. She does it good everywhere with my love. My love does it good. Whoa, whoa, whoa. My love does it good. Does it look like it's moving? Looks like it to me. The old arm is tired. But that's to be expected. Yeehaw! She does it good everywhere with my love. Alrighty. That's what they look like. By gosh. Can you see that okay? Oh no. I broke the collar. Alrighty. So what we're going to do now is we're still going to get that bottom bearing off the spindle. And we're going to clean this up real good inside with a wire wheel. And we'll actually, once we get it cleaned up really well, we'll put some anti-seize on there, which will help do two things. It will help keep this from sticking. It's not going to keep the friction fit from holding it in place, of course. Plus you'll have a bolt on top of it and a preload and all that. But we do want to get all this cleaned up, and somewhere around here is the adjustment. Oh, here it is. Well, that's for the other one. This goes down through here between the two bearings. Bearings sit on the top and bottom of this. And then when you tighten that down, that tightens it down against this sleeve. Well, we've got our bottles in. Got our torch hooked up. And our oxygen regulator has coughed up its cookies, and it's something really simple. And it's after 5 on a Friday. And here's the problem. Can you see that little nylon gasket right there? That's a seat. And that's a seat for the regulator. It's a friction seat. And that allows air to go through the regulator and the diaphragm and a couple of other seals. Determines how much oxygen comes out of the tank and into the hose, which goes up to this old antique Victor cutting torch here. And between this valve and this valve determines, along with the quantity of acetylene, determines how hot your torch is. However, if that little nylon friction seat, I don't know if I cleared up or not. If that sucker doesn't work, then of course you're out of luck. So I've come up with maybe a workaround for the weekend. And I've got an O-ring here, but I think it's going to be too large to go inside this seat. And if it does actually fit in there and seal up on the, I believe it's going to be too big to go in there. But we're going to give it a shot. If that'll hold the pressure long enough, which I know that y'all don't need to do this at home. So anyway, I'm going to try that and see if I can either blow myself up or cut that torch off, or that bearing off. If not, I've got a kit ordered, so it's going to take about 6, 8, 10 days to get here, but that's life. So this little video is taking a little longer than I'd hoped it would, but we will get this all cut apart and we'll get new bearings on it. The bearings are sitting over there, and we pretty much have everything we need to get it all back together. Now, I'm going to say this, and here's one of the new bearings right here. There you go, and it's a SA205-16. Okay, so that'll slide on there real nicely. After I clean that spindle up anyway. Anyway, that'll go in there. We'll put it back over on that caster area. So we're getting there. Just bear with me. We'll get this all lined out and put together, and you'll get to see the whole thing. Well, okay, I have bust the outer race off the bearing, and it's just going all over the place. So, and here's part of the outer seal right there. Okay, I guess I got it. There you go. zoomed in a little too tight. So there's part of that. This is what the bearing's going to look like on the inside. It's called a roller bearing. And a roller bearing sits on an inner and outer race, and the bearings fit inside these like that. So you get an idea. And what we've got to do is, and what I'm going to try to do here, is make sure you wear your safety glasses. I'm going to go ahead and bust this on off here. That'll be harder than it was to break the... Glad I didn't hit the camera. Alright. Well, mostly, get a little sharper chisel down here and I'll get in your way. Yeah, that's already been beat up on this race too. So, let's head over here a time or two. There we go. That's how you get the bearings out of there, and probably the inside seal. There you go. I know this is probably about as interesting as mud. We've beat on this so much, we're going to have to probably dress this up when we get through. Now what I'm going to do here, since this race, inner race, has welded itself via rust to the spindle, is since I can't seem to beat this off, then what I'm going to attempt to do, I'm going to clean this up real good. I'm going to weld a couple of weld spots here and a couple over here, maybe 4 different places. Do some spot welding on it. Then I'm going to attempt to take a pipe wrench to break this contact with the spindle loose. And the reason why I'm going to have to put the weld on it is because although the pipe jaws are hardened, then you got to remember how hard these races are. So the two are just going to roll around each other basically like your own bearings. So the next step is clean this up. And I was going to torch it off, but as you may remember the other day, my torch regulator has coughed up its cookies, so I've got some parts ordered for that. Well, we don't have time to wait for it, so we're going to go ahead and make a couple of spot welds on this in 2 or 3 places and see if we can't get this where we can get it to turn. Because these are not press fit bearings, by the way. So if we can get that to turn at all, we should be able to beat this thing off. So stay tuned. We'll look like I'm going to have to replace this glove. I've got a hole in it, and y'all would hate to see me with dirty hands. Okay, be back shortly. Okay, well, we are back, and I want to real quickly give credit to an old-time friend of mine, long-time friend, not old-time, long-time friend, Billy McKinney. I went to welding shops. They were out of pocket. I went to some appliance repair shops, several different shops around town to try to find someone that had a torch that I could either rent or pay them to cut a bearing off. So end up going out to the Hustler Lawnmower shop, and they don't have a cutting torch, so they weren't able to cut this off. But my friend Mr. Billy McKinney, hey Billy, he was nice enough after work to meet me at his shop, and I didn't even have to cut it off. He was nice enough to cut this thing off, and I'm going to show you what it looks like real quick, because we're about to brighten it up and get ready to put a bearing on it. So let me zero it in a little bit here. All right. There you go. So it's going to need a little bit of cleaning here. And he heated that thing cherry red all the way around, and believe it or not, that thing would not move. And this is not a press fit bearing. This is a slip fit bearing. So if you get a look, let's go ahead and pull this spacer off. We ended up sort of cutting into the spacer, but it'll be all right. Or as they say over at Cars and Camera and Isaac, it'll be fine. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get this cleaned up best we can, and this thing ready to accept the bearing. Go around that thing quite a bit. I'm going to tell you something, this stuff is aggressive, but it ain't really hurt that metal, but it sure ought to take some of that rust off of it. I need some emery cloth, and this thing held in a vise, but I don't have a vise big enough here to do that. So we're having to struggle with this thing, as you can see on camera. So now I don't want to have to turn the grinder on to hit that place. I hit that with a chisel and knocked a big dent in there, and it stuck up. It's pretty sharp. So I'm going to go ahead, turn this off for a moment, get this ready to accept the bearing, and you get an idea what I'm going through to get that ready for you. So I'm going to knock this down. I'll probably hit it with I was going to hit it with the file, but I'm going to go ahead and hit the grinder. And I'm going to take a, if I've still got one, a twist knot brush, and I'll go around this thing and try to knock some of the stuff off a little harder. Because right here and right here where the bearings sit, that's the important part. So we'll be back shortly. Okay, here you go again. Let's get back in here for you. All right, there we go. One perfect slip fit. See if I can get you a little bit closer so you can get an idea just exactly how much cleaning we had to do on that thing. That's a lot. I actually went in here after I wire brushed it, wire wheeled it for a while. Then I went in with a file and I went around it on the file locations, and there were some burrs and stuff that was from rust. Really not burrs, it was just raised rust areas. And then now I put the spacer back on. Actually what I might do is flip that spacer over like that so we have a full seat all the way around. And then next we're going to take this little wheel, wire wheel right here. If it gets zeroed in on it there. We're going to take this little sucker and we're going to go inside the spindle seat area and clean this up before we put the new bearings in. And after that point, then we're going to go ahead and reinstall the yoke and put the spindle up through the bearings, reassemble it for you. We're not going to put the wheel on because we're going to, when we end this with the bearings and you get to hear how it sounds, then we're going to start another video on cleaning and sanding and painting these yokes. We are going to put bearings in the wheels, or again, if the guy will come through for me and make me the aluminum wheels, or if I can get my hands on a lathe, then I'll take a set of go-kart aluminum wheels and I will make a new spindle to go through it. Let me back this out a little ways here. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and make a axle for it that I can bolt the go-kart wheels to, make a flange on that axle bearing holder with a flange, and then, or mount, so that then the wheel will mount to it centered in the caster. That way it'll have aluminum wheels, and I'll probably put those wheels first on the Hustler Raptor SD over there with the Krager mags on it. And if I like them really well, we're going to build a set for this because we hope to get this old lawnmower up to 35 mile an hour. We probably can't do it with many of the stock parts. However, if we can get it to 20-22 mile an hour, then that'll be for certain the world's fastest Hustler Super Z, which is what this series of videos is all about, is restoration, getting it back to factory stock, and then going forward from there. So let me turn this thing off. I'm going to clean this real quickly, and we're going to assemble this for you so you can get an idea of what it's supposed to sound like when it's when the bearings are better. You can refer back to the front of the video and listen to it, and you'll see how the bearings would vibrate the whole machine. So hang on, be right back. Ooh, that's nice. All right, that's one bearing down. Now these bearings, I showed you the bearing, but I didn't show you how they come. All right, this bearing has a locking collar for it. That's the top bearings you're going to be using here. And we have to have this, when we go back together, put this bearing in here. We also have to have that sleeve, don't forget. All right, so these come with a locking collar. If I didn't tell you earlier in the video, and this thing is taking so long, who knows? May have, may not have. And that locking collar goes over right here like that, and that keeps the bearing in place if you put it on a shaft of some sort. We're not going to be using that, of course, so what we're going to do is drive that in there, and we're also going to put, I wish I did on the bottom, had intended to. I was trying to think about the video and get it done, and I know it's taken forever to do this, so we're just going to put a little bit of this on here. Well, there's going to be a lot of people that disagree with this, but that's okay. And the reason why I'm doing that is it'll help keep the rust down, which is really what I'm after. And also helps put the bearing in with a little less friction. There you go. Now, here's where we really want to put that stuff on there. We're going to put it on here because we don't want this rusting. By the way, if I hadn't told you, that sucker is heavy right there. So, if you ever want this back off, and as I said earlier, by the way, I'm not going to put that on there yet because I'm going to pull this back off, so I'll do it when I reassemble it. But what we're going to do is we will put the anti-seize all the way around this shaft, and then I need to get the bolts ready to go, come thinking. So let me get those up here. So we've got a washer that's going to go down on top of this right here. And then we've got, this is going to go here. This is going to go here, and we're going to put this on here sort of as a seal. It's not necessary, but we're going to do that. All right, here we go. Now maybe I'll be strong enough to do this. It's late in the day. I'm old. I think we've all established I'm old, fat, and ugly. So you know how that's going to go. You've got to go through that. Don't knock that thing out, dummy. Here we go. Now we're going to put this through here. Like this right here. I think I screwed that off there, so I'll probably have to screw it back on. It'll be about right, wouldn't it? I don't think that'll fall. Yeah, but it would too. I got that slip really slipping well. So, we try to get this screwed through here. You know how it is when you're trying to film? Everything you didn't think about in the front end, you figure it out real quickly while you got the camera on. So we may just have to do a little cutting and splicing and or speeding up so that you don't have to put up with all that. All right, now then, let's see, where is that little sucker right here? By the way, that wire will bite you. Speaking of falling down between the frame and the seat, or foot deck. Now then, see how long that turns? And it didn't vibrate the machine. That's what you want right there, boys and girls. And that concludes this video. This looks better. The spacing is now correct. There's actually a space between the spindle housing and the bottom of the plate here that the spindle comes up through on the yoke. So guys, that is just smooth as glass. All right, that side, other than a lot of labor and time, the 4 bearings were $23.87. So on this side, you're talking about less than $12, $6 a piece to replace the bearings. And that's going to make a whole lot less pull on the more horsepower and on the more hydraulic pumps and the hydraulic wheel motors. As you're steering, it won't require as much power to move this thing side to side. So there you go, guys. We hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something out of it. If you did, by all means, please subscribe. Hit that like button down there. Hit that notification bell. Share if you would. And we appreciate you watching the videos as always. And we thank you very kindly. And as we always say here at Max's Garage Mahal, y'all come back and see us now, you hear?